All right.
It's official.
All hail Darren Stem, winner of the Couch in the Rube 2024 Men's NCAA Tournament Bracket Challenge.
Nice.
Presented by Midtown Brewing Company here in downtown Lansing. By the way, it's Tuesday today. Awesome place to put together a trivia team and go to Trivia Tuesday starting at 7 o'clock at Midtown Brewing Company. And Darren will receive $100 or up to $100 in free food on a visit to Midtown Brewing Company for up to him and 6 of his friends in the back corner booth where we did our live show, if they so choose, and also a prize packet from us. Also receiving Midtown Brewing Company gift cards and prize packets are second place winner and third place winner. Second place winner, Carlos Quinney, and third place winner, Brooks Medlock. So congratulations to both of you.
Those real names?
Those are real names. Well,
it's one of those like Fart Soup or something?
No, Fart Soup did not win here. Also, all hail Dylan Gregory, winner of the Couch in the Rube 2024 Women's NCAA Tournament Bracket Challenge, presented by Midtown Brewing Company. Dylan will also get up to $100 and free food night out at Midtown Brewing Company here in downtown Lansing, and that back corner booth if they so choose. And we'll come over and say hi to, or at least I will. I don't know if the Rube will. Rube might be tucked away.
When
and
are they going to go?
Whenever they want to.
So, are you on call?
If you live in, yes, I will be on call. If you live in town, great. If not, and you're coming in for an MSU football game or an event or to visit, that's a great time to do it as well. Also, congrats to our second place winner, Bruce D, and third place winners Jared Joseph and Aiden Lutz, who will also receive Midtown Brewing Company gift cards and our prize packets, and we'll get tea working in the sweatshop and get things going there. So we should be.
Man, I didn't even finish third in the women's, huh?
Yeah, we should have good. So I just got a report from Alex. We had no sound for a minute.
Okay, now we do.
We do. So I don't know how much we need to redo.
We don't. Just keep going.
I mean, okay. Well,
it's for the podcast, you know.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's just the the YouTube video that missed the sound. It missed my beautiful live reads for Muskox Quality Flannels and also our friends at Pure Options, I guess. Anyway, so we'll be in touch with our winners, and appreciate you playing. Appreciate all of you playing. Appreciate Midtown Brewing Company for sponsoring that. Are you ready to dig into our hot take, sir?
Yeah, man.
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
I think the Tigers fucking suck, Graham. I'm nervous. And I understand what people are going to say. It's how many games are we into the season? 10 or whatever. But the series against Oakland, they're losing today 2-1 to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They lost yesterday in embarrassing fucking fashion. They can't score any runs. I mean, is this going to get better? Are people going to tell me to just relax and wait? Are we going to sit there and wait around for another bat? Do we seriously? And I know Javi Baez made a nice play. He does it maybe once a game where he's decent at shortstop and makes a fucking play. And then, you go, oh, maybe he isn't so bad. And then he takes 3 cuts at the next at-bat. And he's fucking terrible. And then you're told, oh, you got to sit there and you have to pay him because he's owed a lot of money. So what? Why do we have to do – is he impeding our process of having a good baseball team? Then get him the fuck out. Why do we have to sit there and watch this guy every day? He doesn't – if he had a bat, maybe. But I don't know, Graham. The first week of the season, you're like, oh, my God, what's – and that is it just a Fugazi record? Is this team really shit?
I think the lineup is a problem.
Yeah, but the pitching staff too. I mean, Reese Olson yesterday, Flaherty looked fucking terrible.
Well, hold on. I think one of the things that happens in baseball season, even among diehard baseball fans, is we are not equipped for this sport. We are not, because we go through football where it's one game a week and we overreact to everything properly.
Yeah, people tell you to be patient there too.
We go through basketball and it's a little more of a struggle, and then baseball. We come the best teams, and like I was going to give Chris Castellani some shit the other day, and because as much as I appreciate Chris, he's talking about go out and sweep the Oakland A's like you should. No, you shouldn't. The best,
he's right.
Best teams in baseball lose a third of their games. Remember that. Nothing.
Yeah, but they're not scoring any runs, man.
I know there's big problems with the Tigers, but never expect more than 2 out of 3. when they're shitty, you should expect at least 1 out of 3. That's just baseball. It's a frustrating sport in that sense.
It was the way they were rolling. You could have rolled in undefeated to the opening day, and I don't know. It just seems like the pitching staff, which we thought would be a decent piece to this Tigers team, but
the pitching staff's going to be fine. I think they're going to have to, though, address the lineup. Because you cannot let this.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. It's not. This isn't some trade deadline or other things. Or you may have to actually make a move. You have you have 6 starting pitchers who've shown decent signs and probably have some value. You have. I mean, this is a move where you're going to lose the fan base, not permanently, but you're just going to lose this year. This year is going to be, if this becomes such a slog and you just can't get any hits. You can't have days where you score 6 runs. I mean, Pure Options has a great promo with the Detroit Tigers. If they score 7 or more runs, you get a free Pro-Grow
pound
8.
of weed?
Yeah, with the purchase of $40 or more the next day. Pure Options at this rate is never going to have to pay that out. It's a brilliant promo.
Yeah.
We keep saying it, and they never have to pay it out. No, because the Tigers they're going to have to lower their run total. Pure Options can be like 2 runs. We'll give you the store.
And I understand they say be patient because baseball is a long-term thing, but I mean, honestly, we're not talking playoffs or whatever. We're not even talking about that. We just want to be, like the Baltimore Orioles were last year, just competitive, and there's some hope. But then every day you see Javi Baez sitting there at shortstop, and and his 3 at bats where he just 9 cuts and 3 strike, whatever. It's just, I just don't know why we have to sit there and pay the fucking guy. There's no salary cap. Is he a good locker room guy? I don't know, but it's just, It's just frustrating to have a hot take about the Tigers being ass already, but it just feels that way when you watch them and they can't score any runs.
It went from really good vibes to like, wait a second, is this going to be that kind of year?
2 different teams.
Yeah. All right, my first hot take. We are going to hear some of our listener hot takes address the notion that if UConn can do it, Connecticut basketball can do it, MSU ought to be doing it. That UConn isn't a school with any advantages MSU doesn't have, and in some ways, has less, right? I mean, just based on location and history of the program and some issues. And while that's true, I will say this. The same goes for every school. Like, UConn doesn't have advantages that almost any school has in major college sports. In the Pac-12, and the Big 12, and their Big East brethren, and the Big 10, the SEC, right? So, I mean, I get that. And the same way UConn's meek basketball history, like pre-1990 and being in Storrs, Connecticut, seemed like a reason to make them a minimal reasonable standard, which is like 6 titles since 99. You could also say the same about MSU's program compared to a lot of other places. Like, MSU was a middling program where a coach did the impossible, and now that program is thought of as different. Fans expect more, right? Like, other programs and fan bases want their middling programs to become what MSU did. That's sort of the expectation. Can you get that coach? MSU is UConn in a lot of ways. New money success, relatively speaking. What I'm saying is, I'm just saying, like,
you're the best.
I'm saying the argument that, like, MSU should be doing what UConn's doing, well, then so did every fucking school. Like, UConn is doing something that they won 6 titles. You know how many titles Kentucky's won since UConn won its first? 1. Like, yeah, no doubt. Fire every coach. Demand this of every coach. I mean, I understand that if UConn can do it, there is an element of you should expect that of your program or want that for your program, I should say. But it's just so difficult to do. It's so rare. It's
back-to-back championships,
yeah, and the 6 since '99. I mean, it's with 3 different coaches. I mean, that's really, really rare.
Do you think Izzo was watching that game last night and be like, I need to get a 5 at all? Just at all? No.
I think he's already had those thoughts.
Okay,
and I think he's thought about the. I think the wing.
I'd like to know what his thoughts were on the game last night.
Yeah, I think I think UConn's size on the perimeter and wings were as much of an issue as for Purdue, at least, is anything else. All right, what is your second hot take?
Rick Pitino back to Kentucky. I like how Calipari, that didn't really get much news. I know it was the day after the women's championship game, wasn't it? Was it Monday morning? But that was kind of wild. Like, I didn't think that, obviously, I didn't know if he would last with Kentucky, but Arkansas? And I know he'll go there and he'll have guys and he'll be great at Arkansas, but what about Kentucky, Graham? Obviously, Nate Oates, that shit isn't happening, right? The buyout's like $30 million, so that's ridiculous. But what other coaches do you think could go to Kentucky and kind of replicate at least what Calipari did?
Well, it's a different game now. I
understand, but I mean, is that a coveted job? I understand everybody tells you the bloodline, Kentucky, blah, 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 but is it in today's, like you just said, things are changing.
It's different.
Is it a big job like it used to be?
It's different for a couple reasons. One, there are a lot more coaches making good money who don't need like that jump. And, you know, we talk about sometimes the idea of the negativity of MSU's fan base and the fishbowl and all that. That is what, I mean, you look at UConn fishbowl, right? 100% fishbowl. Not UConn, sorry, Kentucky fishbowl. And so do people want that? Do people want that lifestyle? Do people want that fan base in their ear all the time when you don't have as many advantages as you once did? Other schools can pay out NIL the certain way. You can't win just by recruiting the top young prospects anymore. That's never going to happen again, because as long as NIL is around, the sport is going to be older. Older guys are going to stay in. Age wins. You have to have a mix of it. But if you just recruit the top young prospects, you're not winning shit.
No.
You're not, you know, Anthony, there are a few teams, like even the great teams like Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and that Kentucky team from 2012 that was so good. They would have been really good in today's college basketball. They would not have beaten UConn last night. And so you never win a national title, or rarely could, doing it that way. It's just a whole different thing. This is
Ricky P, though, he can come back to Kentucky and take it back over. That'd be awesome.
Bryce Drew, something like that. This leads to my second hot take. I think there are some things to think about when it comes to replacing Izzo from this Final Four. And I'm not trying to be snide here and say, you know, but like Danny Hurley, high school coach for a long time, couple years at Wagner, then 6 years at Rhode Island, which it took 4 years at Rhode Island before he really got it going to reach an NCAA tournament in year 5. Then reached it twice, losing in the second round. Wasn't a sitting high major guy when UConn hired him. Then he goes 16-17 at UConn, 19-12 in a first-round loss, then another first-round loss, and then back-to-back national champion. Like, this shit can require patience over hot takes, and I'm not sure any fan base is built for that. I'm just saying, like, think about that when you think about moving forward and what it could look like. And I'm not saying that in a negative, you know, keep Izzo forever. What I'm saying is the idea that you need to get a sitting high major coach. Like, think about Nate Oates, high school coach for a decade at Romulus in Michigan. Buffalo for 4 seasons. Matt guy. Nobody wants to hire a Matt guy, right? 3 NCAA tournaments there, won the league twice. Then at Alabama, 16-15 in year 1, then a Sweet 16, then 19-14, then 31 wins and a Sweet 16, then 12 losses this year, but gets to the Final Four. Like, it's not this perfect deal.
But
right?
It's hard to see those guys.
Well, it is.
When
But
they're at the lower majors doing it.
I'm just saying, yeah, right. And then you look at, like, Matt Painter. One great season at SIU following Bruce Weber, where he'd been Weber's top assistant. But he did get to the NCAA tournament. But that program had done more. They'd been to a Sweet 16 at SIU. They'd done other things. Then he goes to the coach in waiting at Purdue. This is sort of the argument for that sort of thing. First year at Purdue, 9-19. Then he has a decent stretch, but doesn't win a Big Ten title till year 5. Loses in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament in his next 4 NCAA tournaments, and also misses 2 of them altogether. Then in 2016, 10 years in, it really picks up. Like, there is, what I'm saying here is, it's not that it's just unlikely to strike gold. I'm just saying you got to find these guys in all sorts of ways.
So you're saying be patient.
Well, I'm saying don't overlook anybody. Don't get so caught up in it. It's the old argument with, you know, you're not hiring Nick Saban, you're trying to find the next Nick Saban or whatever, next Urban Meyer. You find the next Urban. You're not hiring Urban Meyer, you're trying to find the next Urban Meyer. You know, there's a lot of go get Nate Oates. You know, Nate Oates would do well at Michigan State. I'm not saying you wouldn't. I'm not sure you could get him. But what you're looking for, and you shouldn't rule out, is finding that next one. And that person hasn't always had linear success. Like, it hasn't always been perfect and easy and the fastest build in the world. It doesn't always look like striking gold, or you don't hire Danny Hurley after what he did at Wagner. Well, Wagner, he was really good. but then at Rhode Island. I'm just saying, like, that's just something to consider.
Do you think Hurley stays at UConn long term?
I do.
Or is he NBA guy?
I think he's a college basketball guy, and I think he stays. I think he's trying to really do something there. And
yeah, it was impressive to watch.
And the other thing is, like, he doesn't seem interested in going to Kentucky.
That's the thing is that we talk about the Kentucky, because back in the day, you would say that, like, he's crazy. He's not going to Kentucky. That was like one of the top jobs.
His wife doesn't want to go, yeah.
Right, but I mean, you could turn UConn into that kind of place, right?
And it's all
you can turn a lot of places into a Kentucky.
Yeah, it's all about the NIL situation. And what I mean, the thing about people say, well, if UConn can do it, MSU could do it. Yeah, so should St. John's. So should Butler.
Yeah.
So should everybody. Like, it's really, I mean, if we're going to hold that standard, I'm telling you right now, today, there are about 270, not that many because there are a lot of shitty. There are about 100 coaches in college basketball who should be fired today if UConn's the standard. Just cut them all. Start over.
See you guys.
Go find the next Nate Oates at Romulus High School. See
Is
if
that
you
like
can
a
do
Zoom
it.
call? You'd have to do that?
Yeah, you just get them all together. Fucking gone.
By the way, NIL. So Zach Edey, being a Canadian, he couldn't get any NIL at his time at Purdue. Is that true?
Yeah, and it's weird because if he had just, I don't get why
like
these
zero. Like he can't get any.
I mean they can't. It's like Madi Sissoko, who has to give it away to build a school. And what's weird is it's not like that for every single NIL program. It's just this short-sighted stuff that these NIL collectives do. This is Sparta at Michigan State, which is the non-official collective, but has 11 sports at MSU, including hockey and gymnastics and a lot of sports. Their international athletes can actually get paid because of how it's set up. You just got to set it up correctly, and I don't understand why these schools don't. I think that's a story. I mean, really, just set it up differently.
Right.
Set it up with the charitable component, set it up differently. There are all sorts of ways that it can be done. It's done differently there, and so I don't understand why that's not done more often. It's really short-sighted. It's something that MSU, I think, should lead into with This is Sparta, and we'll see if that happens. What is your third hot take?
So the women's basketball tournament was a success. Millions and millions of people watched the championship game. Dawn Staley, by the way, she should teach a class on likability for some of these coaches. Because I understand, she's going out there and she's in front of everybody and you have to praise Caitlin Clark, but it's the right thing to do, right? She's likable. South Carolina, she flipped the whole lineup and they didn't lose a whole game all year long. But my question is this. Now that Caitlin Clark's going to the WNBA, who's the next Caitlin Clark? Because I'm a fan of Paige Beckers, but she's an all-around kind of player that I don't know brings in the viewers like Caitlin Clark shooting from half court. Who is that next player? Because I see a lot of the women on Get Up and on ESPN pretty much bragging about how women's basketball is back. I don't know. But what about next year? Is it going to be the same viewership? Are people going to be tuned in to Caitlin Clark? And who is the next one? Juju Watkins, maybe.
It will not be the same, but it'll be good. It'll be really good. Because a couple things are not going to change. One, the coaches are familiar names and personalities. The players we get to know year over year more than the men's game in certain ways. The top players, you're going to have a wave in several years of young women inspired by Caitlin Clark. But even now, like it won't do this year. It won't do the last 2 years' numbers that have been Caitlin Clark inspired. But it'll do really well. It'll probably outdraw the men for this foreseeable future, and that's an issue.
Really, even next year, you think?
Yeah.
Because that's what I wonder. Because believe me, I had fun. I'm glad it was a great product that everybody was watching. But like I said, when she's gone in the WNBA, does everybody follow her there, or do they stick to the women's game in college hoops?
The men's game is not on the right trajectory. It's not going to go up in terms of audience. It is not. I don't think so. Because when you look at like the new transfer portal legislation that would permanently allow athletes to transfer as many times as they want without sitting out and stuff like that, no professional league would want that. Like, no, you just it just doesn't allow you to build anything. It doesn't allow you to feel like one of the things that makes college men's basketball work forever was not only that you get to know players a little bit, even when some were going one and done, but you could build something. There was a sense of this person chose the school I went to or I care about, and we have a common bond there. There's something that's being lost in all that, and I think it'll be reflected for a long time.
But I think that's
in
what
the
people
ratings.
say when their team isn't getting players. I feel if you're getting players in the portal and everything,
Well,
you're kind of like,
there will
oh,
be-
man, this is great.
There will be individual fan bases that are hugely happy. Nobody at Connecticut's pissed off right now.
Yeah.
You know, Alabama fans are happy. If Michigan State won a national title next year, all their fans would watch.
But if you have no NIL and you're a fan of that team, do you even give a shit?
Yeah, if there's no dream, like I use the Indiana State, example, and people say, "Well, who cares about the Indiana State fans?" Well, when I say Indiana State, it can be at times 150 fan bases there. When you like this year, their entire starting lineup, except for guy with the glasses, is in the portal right now, and so like you can't build anything, and then when you have the special year, you still get left out of the tournament. I'm sorry. Like, there's no reason for Indiana State fans to remain engaged. You can't build anything, and even the dream is muted. And I think that's not just them. That's throughout the Missouri Valley that got one team in the tournament, even though they were a top 10 league. It's just a lack of understanding from the big schools, from the Big Ten and the SEC. I mean, really bad leadership. I mean, I'm telling you right now. I mean, Greg Sankey, smart dude. I mean, not smart enough, because what you have to understand is that little bit of extra greed threatens the whole damn thing. And if you start thinking a little bit, we got a lot and we can build this, but try to, rising tide, all boats, sort of deal, and keep everybody, the dream alive for everybody, keep the sport healthy. That's where the ratings numbers comes from, when everybody's engaged, when everybody, in the years, when you're Drake and your team doesn't make it, but you know what, you think, boy, we got a sophomore I really like. And you know what? When this kid's a junior, I think, and we got this kid, we got a chance. You're into the whole deal. But when it's like, we got a sophomore we really like, everybody's trying to poach him. We're not even going to have the kid. And if we do get 7 or 8 transfers and put together a great team, who knows if we'll get in. That fan is not as engaged. And I'm sorry, that's just, to me.
Well, I find it hard to be engaged in something that you have no shot of winning anything in. Like you said, just even a sliver of doing something is better than obviously nothing. But.
All right. My third hot take, and I promised this last week. The evidence of MSU being a football school as defined by what stirs the soul the most, right, for the largest number of fans.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to give away exact numbers about my columns and stories because that would get me in huge trouble. But I am going to give you this. Over the last year, my 6 most read columns are MSU football columns. Okay? Now, the top 2 are me saying Mel Tucker will never coach another game at MSU, and after the morning after the USA Today story dropped, and then a column right after Jonathan Smith was hired. So those are coaching. I get that. But the next 4 were just football columns. Not all of you, even all of them off games. Not a season that was particularly great. Next 4, all football columns. You are what you care about most. However, I will add this. 7 of my next 10 most read pieces were basketball columns, including an exhibition against Hillsdale off that, and the James Madison loss. And then the next was like the NCAA tournament, MSU's bracket analysis. In other words, when there's optimism and hope, or the calendar turns just right, who's plays? And it's big in MSU. Like, people are all in. That would never happen at Michigan or Ohio State or even Scott. Like the Hillsdale game, the James Madison loss, those are not huge number deals in Michigan. It just isn't. Or even Wisconsin to the level at Michigan State. So, like, when I talk about how cyclical and seasonal MSU fan base is and how much I enjoy that, here's another example. This is the opposite side of it. This month, 3 quick takes column on Mady Sissoko leaving. Now, this isn't Jaden Akins or Xavier Booker or anything. That did more than 5 times the readership of the Lone Spring football column I wrote, which, did similar numbers to the hockey column I wrote after MSU lost to Michigan. Still did fine. Hockey numbers are way up, but people's heads aren't there, and I love that. So there's sort of proof that things are really cyclical and proof that it's football first. Top 6 columns of the year, all football. And then this time of year, Mady Sissoko, 3 quick takes, does 5 times a football spring column on readership. I love that. I love that. Yeah. And so I'm saying this is just readership isn't everything, but it does show where people's heads are. And I have a pretty good sense of this stuff after covering this school for 12 years and growing up in it.
People like football?
My take is it's a football school first. Now, it's almost as balanced as it can be. When you talk only the top 6 and then 7 of the next 10 are basketball, but there is a higher ceiling on the football columns in terms of what really stirs people. And then basketball, what gets people most, and it's such a calendar turn. When we talk about the idea that one of MSU football's problems is when shit goes bad, people are all of a sudden like, well, Izzo's here, basketball's here, it's November. I'll worry about that. And you're not constantly aching to give to football and give to NIL and worry about that. The example is Hillsdale, James Madison, incredibly high readership. That's where much more than the Champions Classic or a Big Ten game, people are all of a sudden into it. It's new, it's fresh. Football ain't going well, especially when football isn't going well. But even when it is, the calendar turns. It is a cyclical, seasonal fan base, but it is slightly football first. And I will, in terms of what stirs the soul. Now, you could say there's more success in basketball. That's not what defines a basketball school. It's what stirs the soul of the most people in your fan base. And that is me telling you it's slightly a football school, but it is as balanced as any school in the country.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
I love it.
Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we will dig into our listener hot takes, our Tuesday afternoon show presented by our friends at Pure Options, where cannabis meets community, and Muskox quality flannels.
Hey, sports fans, are you tired of the same old routine? Looking for a way to unwind after a long day? Look no further than Pure Options, the premier destination for all of your cannabis needs in Lansing, Detroit, Muskegon, and Mount Pleasant. Whether you're cheering for the Lions, Spartans, or the Wolverines, Pure Options has everything you need to elevate your game day experience. And here's the best part. Mention Couch in the Rube when you visit Pure Options and get a free GoPro 8 with a $50 purchase. It's our way of saying thank you for being a loyal listener. Swing by Pure Options today and elevate your cannabis experience to a whole new level. Firekeeper's online casino and sportsbook is the site to play from your phone, tablet, or laptop. Get in on all the football action with pre- and in-game wagering. There's showdowns every week in football that you can't miss. Plus, the college and pro hoops are red hot, and the pucks are cool. Get your first casino deposit and sports wager matched up to $500 each. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117. Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. Ever wonder how comfortable you can be and how good you can look? Put on a Muskox flannel and find out. Muskox has new arrivals for this fall, including the Caper Green Grand Flannel, which even makes couch look good. Muskox is a Detroit-based flannel company that creates soft and durable flannels made to last a lifetime. They become a great partner with Couch in the Rube, not just because they make us look good and feel good, but because they're good people too, and a socially conscious company. For every $100 purchase, $10 is donated to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation. Muskox flannels are designed with 100% cotton that is ethically sourced and double brushed for softness. Feel the quality and comfort of a Muskox flannel by ordering at gomuskox.com, where Couch in the Rube listeners can enjoy $15 off their flannel purchase with the promo code HOFF. Come enjoy irresistible, award-winning, handcrafted donuts and locally roasted coffee at Groovy Donuts. Surprise your family or coworkers with special holiday designs and flavors, or put the perfect finishing touch on an event with a custom order. Birthdays, weddings, gender reveals, our friends at Groovy Donuts are your answer. Experience the Groovy Donuts difference for yourself on Lake Lansing Road in East Lansing or in Williamston. Get more information or place an order at groovydonuts.com. If you're looking for a relaxed vibe, great food, and an outstanding beer selection, Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing is your place. Enjoy their famed chicken and waffle fries, fish and chips, or any of their delicious burgers or salads. Midtown Brewing Company also offers 40-plus beers on tap, including ciders and seasonal offerings and daily happy hour specials. The spacious and cozy vibe makes Midtown Brewing Company a perfect place for a beer with a friend, a work lunch, or to watch the games on its big screen TVs. If you'd rather eat at home, Midtown Brewing Company offers a terrific carryout menu and free delivery on orders of $20 or more. Visit MidtownBrewingCompany.net or stop by 402 South Washington in downtown Lansing for the Midtown Brewing Company experience.
Find Couch in the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by our friends at Pure Options, where cannabis meets community. And on 420, a Lansing Pure Options block party at their Lansing Frandor location. Sean Kingston, Desmond Jones, DJs, and more. It's a consumption event with live games, food trucks. 10 a.m. to about 6 p.m. may go a little longer than that. If you're at the MSU football spring game, great opportunity to swing by. Check out Pure Options Frandor location. Some outstanding deals that'll start next week leading into 420 as well. We'll get into those specifically, like $42 small bud ounces, $64 Pro Grow top shelf ounces, all sorts of stuff as well. And our Tuesday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels, where, again, I just ordered the Sunrise Plaid Grand Flannel. And I know my wife says I'll look good in it, so that is good enough for me. And there's no doubt that I look better in a Muskox flannel than I do in any other clothing. So I'm very pleased with that. Let's dig into our listener hot takes.
Yes, Eric Schultz up first. For Izzo to be taken seriously about the whole die trying thing, he needs to bring in a new voice as a fourth assistant, a good big, a good wing, and tell A.J. Hoggard to leave. Anything less is unacceptable.
Well, yeah, unacceptable is a strong word. It often triggers
less.
Yeah.
Kind of with Eric, though.
Yeah. No, look, there's I don't think Hoggard's coming back. I just don't. I don't. I will be surprised if he is, and if he is, I will be very curious to hear how they're planning to work that out, because they're planning to turn the keys over to Jeremy Fears Jr. And so they need it. They need a wing. There's no question. I think they need a big, too. I think you need somebody who's a rugged rebounder who can defend in the post, that even if you've got all sorts of ideas for lineups you want to play and some flexibility with those guys, it's too thin. And so I'm not 100% against you there. Fourth assistant will be interesting, who they bring in there and what he decides on. So I don't disagree with you, Eric. These seem like simple, obvious things that they need to do. The new fourth assistant will be a new voice, most likely, unless it's hire Mike Garland back or something like that. So most likely a new voice there.
All right, Dominic next. Number 1, Initial Rise couch is on par with Soward's couch. Can anything ever be fun? If MSU hockey wins the Natty next year, who cares, as the Initial Rise is gone? If Izzo makes the Final Four, I'll probably just watch porn because no rise. Sorry about the Lions, Jason. The rise is over. 2, if Zach Edey was a Spartan, we'd enjoy the whistle he'd get in the 4 minutes he'd get, as Doug Wojcik would have turned him into a fucking autistic soccer mom with polio. Jeez. You do know Doug, right? The guy you says has value, the value being fetching Tom's Woody Oasis order. 3, Groovy Donuts is clearly the GOAT, but I've noticed Quality Dairy repeatedly catching strays in Graham's live reads. I need the QD GM to come on here and call Graham a fucknut daddy Coco style. Excuse me, a fucknut daddy Coco style. Yeah, maybe we're not groovy enough, but you stared right through us, Graham. And bonus, if Tom's I'll Die Trying yields another run it back, and you come on here in June with your long-winded against the grain devil's advocate shit, on my daddy's grave, I will personally fly Yancey Thigpen in and bring him to Spotlight for a reenactment of the incident.
So for those who don't know, Yancey Thigpen cost the Lions the Super Bowl in 1995. And Dominic's a Bears fan. So every time and that happened because Yancey Thigpen was with the Steelers. He dropped a would-be touchdown pass that would have beat the Packers and then would have given the Lions home field to start a playoff run after they'd won 7 straight games. And I think if that had happened and you don't have the disaster in Philly, the Lions might have done something. So so every time I pick on the Bears or Dominic's ticked, he sends a gift to me of Thigpen dropping that pass. So yeah, no, look, it would take. I mean, I don't even understand what the argument would be for just running it back. And if Izzo decides to do that at certain positions, then it's really it comes down to the results. And if it fails again, then it's like
don't coach my team.
Then it's a conversation like, what is he not seeing here? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's why I don't think it'll happen like that.
Has the game passed Tom Izzo by?
Like I don't see how
has.
you could watch last year and think you were adequate at the center spot throughout the year. I just don't see how you could do that.
Alex James next. MSU and UConn rose to national prominence at the same time. UConn has continued to win titles despite multiple coaching changes and a massive change to its conference. MSU had to navigate neither. What gives? And bonus, can we get an April in the D serenade?
We could work on getting April in the D.
We could.
Yeah. So UConn has continued to win titles. They've also had some really bad years and missed the tournament altogether a bunch of times. They've gone through 3 coaches, and no doubt what UConn has done is incredible. But when you say what gives about St. John's? St. John's is in freaking New York. It's got a lot of stuff going for it. More than Storrs, Connecticut. Butler's in...
The Good Luck Joes.
Jesus.
Baseball day games at the park. The puck is dropping after
Get to the hook.
shot behind the 3-point arc.
Oh, here we go.
April in the D. April.
We need Chad Latz to cut this.
Yeah.
Needs to happen.
Butler, as many advantages as UConn. Florida, everybody's got UConn's advantages. So that's what gives. It's just hard to do. And Michigan State hasn't done it. So I'm not here to tell you that Michigan State's done things perfectly, but from 2009 to 2020, that was a decade unlike anybody else. I guess Kentucky had it rolling in college basketball and Duke, but other than Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, it was Michigan State. Like that was a hell of a decade. It's just hard to it's hard to freaking do. And what gives? I don't know. I'm not in the room. I'm not here to defend MSU, but I am here to say if UConn can do it, so can MSU. Idea. Same with Oregon, USC, Arizona, Utah. You fucking name it. They ought to be doing it because UConn is doing it.
Mojo Jojo. There's no reason MSU can't or shouldn't be UConn. UConn only has been a basketball power since the 90s, has no recognizable NBA legends, and no billionaire NBA owners as alums. We can get there with Izzo and the right coach. We can get there after. Bonus. A listener complaining about Graham only answering one question immediately after skipping and missing my other questions was hilarious. And I mean this earnestly, no shade. And a classic Couchian moment. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Mojo Jojo. And to your first part, like, you're right. I mean, I think what's happened at UConn should be something that you think about. You can get the right next coach. I just think what's important to remember with what happened at UConn is when the next coach comes in, it might not be an immediate thing. So the next coach comes in, goes to 2 NITs, and then goes 19-12 and loses in the round of 32. That's the UConn build. Can
we get like a Kevin Ollie version then?
Yeah, well, that's what Kevin. I'm just saying, like it is.
You do it with multiple coaches. It's pretty impressive.
Getting the right coach might be letting that coach build in their own way, and so.
But do you have the time to do that anymore?
That's why you need good leadership in a patient and understanding fan base.
MZA, it never happened. Xavier Booker will take a big leap next year and average 15-7. Bonus. Houston versus UConn would have been a better game than Purdue versus UConn.
It might have been. Yeah.
I don't know. It was looking good for a half there.
It was a great first half. It was unbelievable
Jesus.
first half. Yeah, no, Purdue didn't.
Did Painter get out coached there in the second half?
No, he just got out guarded. His guards weren't as good. That's what happened. That was the issue. Yeah, no. If Booker's giving you 15 and 7, that would be a dream step for sure.
Tom Izzo next. Purdue never had a chance with their undersized guards. A scoring big man is nice, but not very efficient. UConn dominated with tall, athletic, all-around superior guards, and Purdue should feel lucky they only lost by 15.
I know I felt good about a teaser that barely cashed. It was 16.5 for Purdue, so I was pleased about that. Firekeeper's Eye Casino and Sportsbook app.
Nice, man.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I was happy to watch Zach Edey cry. He cried, right?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
I know. It was 1 a.m. I couldn't fucking. What do we do? What is that?
9:20. Yeah.
9:20. Well, no, but the women's. I gotta say the women's was kind of ridiculous too. 3:30 on a Sunday. Like, why not put that on at 7:00?
Yeah, it felt
when people are getting home from the weekends are winding down. You're eating dinner or whatever. You're flipping on.
It felt early, and
right,
then the women's. What's interesting is ABC's got this great lead in, and ABC switches to like some infomercial. It was just ridiculous on like teeth whitening or something. like you've got a moment here where you've got like 19.7 million viewers. Like
that's very true.
Maybe debut a new show. I don't know.
Dude, that infomercial got a fucking value.
Oh, holy shit! Yeah, I hope that teeth whitening or whatever it was. Yeah, we should.
But 9:20. I mean, come on, man. I know I'm getting old, but really, young people, do you like it at 9:20? I mean, we used to stay up late. I know you whatever.
Here's the thing,
but I'm saying like,
here's why it can't be at 9:20. It can't be at 9:20 because most bars post COVID aren't even open till the end of that game on a Monday anymore. Most sports bars do not stay open late enough on the Eastern time zone for the championship game.
Do people go that late on a Monday to a bar though?
Well, I don't know if you want to go to a sports bar and watch the game. Be a good time to go to Midtown Brewing Company.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
But if it were on a Saturday, of course you'd go there. But a Monday night like that, it's tough. Thomas Crater next. Purdue without Edey is a fringe NCAA tournament team. They would essentially be this year's MSU team.
Well, yeah, but that's Iowa without Caitlin Clark would be in the NIT. I mean, there's a lot of that. So would many. I mean, Davidson without Steph Curry does not make the Elite Eight.
Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much Jordan. The Bulls without Jordan did not win titles. It's like
keep going.
Yeah, I don't think that Denver without Jokic, is gonna do as well.
Not a playoff team. Next one. Keep going.
So I mean
I feel you have one more.
That's yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, Kansas City without Mahomes, not as good.
God damn, this guy's good. He's on fire.
Not as good.
Chuck Fish next. Purdue's Kaufman Wren sounds like a character from Star Wars. That's it.
That's a great thing.
All right.
I love it.
Corey Ostrom. Izzo needs to close on Saudi Washington. Hot or bake take. Moving screens are like holding in football. Goes on every play. That is not a call I would have made at the end of the UConn-Iowa game, and I was pulling for Iowa. Not a foul. If you want to follow the letter of the law, I hope you like free throw shooting contests. And Joe Rexroad.
So
forgot it. Man, he woke up early just to prove the point home because there was another angle of it.
Yeah. Well, it's
guys cracked me up.
It's the leg going way out that got her in trouble.
Come on.
You're
trying to grow the sport too. I mean, come on.
Here's the thing.
Let that call go.
I probably wouldn't have called it. However, UConn's claim to not having an opportunity to win it because of that call is gone the second they don't get the rebound after the missed free throw on the other end.
True.
Because it's like you had an opportunity to make – you would have had the ball with like 3 seconds to go. You advanced the ball in the women's game to half court. So you would have had the ball at half court with 3 seconds to go, a chance to get a good look, but you couldn't even box out and get a rebound. So once you don't do that, you haven't done the thing to control the game yourself. To me, it takes out the argument that you got.
I know, it was such a letdown.
Yeah, it was.
Steve, next. Playing Hoff at the bar is unbelievable, especially in Lansing during the MSU hockey game. Take note, people. Hoff is on touch tunes and can be played at most bars. Best to yell Hoff right before it plays, too. Also, Michigan now ranks as my top northern state. Number 2 is Wisconsin. Number 3, Minnesota.
Michigan's always, should have been before.
I didn't know
now,
there was
Steve.
a rankings going up there.
Well, Michigan's been one for a long time.
Sure.
I'd probably go That's good. Yeah, it's a good. Minnesota's good. Wisconsin's
Hey,
good.
July topic.
Yeah, great.
Don't waste it.
I do appreciate yelling Hoff right before you play Hoff at a bar. That's awesome. Appreciate you, Steve.
Jay Riemenschneider. Football is king in the U.S., and MSU's level of split football and basketball fandom is admirable. Arkansas, Wisconsin, maybe a few others share the same passion for both, but I think NIL tells us whether MSU is a basketball or football school. You've spoken glowingly about MSU's basketball NIL, whereas football has had some struggles. And Bake Take, Jason, maybe don't rob banks with Jordan, and then your wife could possibly be your best friend.
Good advice. Good advice. To the to the first part, the idea that so yes, NIL is a bigger struggle in football, but I think this is a unique situation. Not unique. There are other places where it may be similar, but Michigan State has a billionaire donor who played for Izzo and who built a football wing, whose contributions to the football facilities then named the building after Izzo. It was like Ishbia is different than having a lot of other things. DeAndre, they have 3 billionaires, and basketball is also a less expensive NIL sport. $3 million payroll sort of been near the it was pretty damn good. You're starting to hear the $5 million NIL payroll. Football, you need to come at it right now until things change or whatever with 11 to 13 million at the very top. It's a lot more to do. So I think it's a hard. I wouldn't use the NIL ability, the ability to procure NIL funds is what separates basketball football school. It can be some places, certainly. Indiana is always going to have more basketball NIL than football, and that.
But does each player get NIL money? Like if you donate, like it has to be spread out equally, or does some players get left off?
No, in like basketball, they're all getting stuff. They're all doing well,
right?
But some are getting more than others. Yeah, and that's not through the fan. That's negotiated through the player and the coaches. Really, I mean, people can act like it's an outside thing. It's not.
What's my deal?
Yeah, right. That's how recruiting works these days. It's not. It's very different than it was recently. Everything that was illegal is now legal.
Some dude next. The Lions need to continuously invest in the offensive line by using high or relatively high draft picks there. Baked Take. We should be grateful that this MSU Hoops team did not live up to its potential, as it would have just been another team on Graham's list of great teams not to win it. Huskies were unstoppable. A Final Four along the way would have been nice, though.
It's a fair point that Michigan State was not going to be, even with a little bit better team, was not going to beat that.
But is Hurley going to keep
team.
reloading, though? I mean, it's not like Hurley's going to go away. He's going to probably have these UConn teams.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be really good. And he's going to have, it's year to year. Does the transfer work out? I mean, one of the guys who was one of their best players wasn't even their first choice in the transfer portal, and a guy they tried to get wasn't very good this year. So there will be years where it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole issue, and that's part of the challenge of it. So it's not an exact science. Yeah, the offensive line, 100%. Just keep loading. It's not fun on draft day, but it pays off. And for the first time in our lives, we're seeing the Lions with a great offensive line. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Ryan Schultz up next. Legacies should be built in March Madness, but never expectations. Look at Hogard this year or Darrell Summers in 2011. Graham totally let last March color his preseason judgment of this team, and if MSU got to a Sweet 16, he was about to act like Sissoko had the chance to be a high-level Big Ten player next year. The Schultz bros coming at you.
Yeah, Ryan, I appreciate you here. And by the way, Ryan submitted this, as did at least one other person, through our YouTube channel in the comments. And so you're always welcome to do that. If you prefer not to be on Twitter anymore, you just prefer that. If you consume us through YouTube, whatever it is, the previous show we did, you can always put your hot take or your Twitter question in the comments there, and we'll get it right there. And
if you could go follow Couch and the Rube on YouTube, even if you don't watch it,
that would be outstanding.
That'd be awesome.
Be great. Be great. Yeah. And so to your point, yeah, you're right to some degree. Sissoko was never going to be somebody I was going to tout for next year because I had been off on Sissoko. I mean, I thought Sissoko could. If Sissoko was consistently as vigorous as he was at the end of the year, I thought he was somebody who could be a solid backup 12, 15-minute-a-game guy, tops. Like, that's it. That's all he can ever be in that role, and he can be effective. But he was not that enough, obviously. But that was the peak I would ever sell him as being useful. And I think the ceiling of the other guys on the roster was still always going to be higher if you're talking about backup big men. So I don't think I would have ever got there with Sissoko. But to your point, I understand what you're saying, Ryan.
Shep up next. 3PS, a.k.a. third-party salary, is a way better acronym than STTP. What the hell kind of journalism degree they handing out at Christopher Colombo College these days?
He's right, by the way. And Shep, you should always get credit for this. I was saying it should be STTP for salary through a third party instead of NIL. But 3PS sounds way better. And you could go TPS too, be like TPS reports or whatever, but third-party salary. But 3PS I like. Either way, by the time we get to this fall, I will only use NIL for legitimate NIL. And just going to be like pledge and commitments. I'm not going to use shit that ain't real. And NIL is not what's happening. So we're not going to use it, and we're going to try and get it out of the vernacular. And we're going to just over and over, if we use something else, you see more and more people using pledge. I'm telling you, it just takes a while. So appreciate you, Shep.
G.E. Miller. Izzo gets one dude from the portal and gives a scholarship to a walk-on, saying he's going to go with his guys at the 5. MSU finishes 9-11 in the Big Ten next year and misses the tournament.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, the hot takes would be bad if those two things happen.
Yeah.
And one would, there's some causation there, obviously.
Definitely will need some pure options if that happens.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, let's just see it happen first. I don't want to, because I don't
big sigh.
I don't want to try to,
I
don't want to try to rip him for something that, or even.
At least you don't have to read them.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Bo McJunkins next. Doug Wojcik will be the next basketball coach at East Carolina. Bonus. It feels like we have to worry about Jaden Akins in the portal.
I don't think you do. I really don't. And I haven't talked to Akins recently, but I know a couple things about him. I've had a lot of conversations. I like Jaden Akins a lot. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's a reasonable guy. I think his parents are smart and reasonable people. His dad was a Division I player. He's an older guy who's he's not one of these reactionary dads, right? Like Jaden Akins would have a day where he went 1 for 7 or got benched in the second half, and his dad wasn't in some pissy mood down courtside or by the locker room afterwards. His dad was like, this is basketball. Like, my kid's got to do better if he wants to play more. You know what I mean? He's just a reasonable guy. And Jaden Akins now has an opportunity to be a really featured player on this roster, to be the 2 guard, to be in a different role than last year, something he's wanted. And so the idea that now he would leave and try to find that somewhere else, I think it's a greater opportunity at Michigan State for him to be a guy who's showcased. And I would be really surprised if he leaves.
Papa Akins is rare. There's not many players' dads like that. It would be.
He's kind of
no big deal. We'll just go home.
He's kind of the dream dad if you're recruiting a player, and you can see it. It's why Jaden is the way he is. He's a guy who works tirelessly and doesn't get overly emotional about stuff and doesn't. I mean it's just a good family.
Kurt Wisniewski next. The basketball national championship happens when you have a committed, capable, and capitalized big man at center. Tom, get to the portal.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Edey helps, but so does, look, UConn was an unbelievable roster beyond the center position, and you can have 7-2 guy, it helps, and it helps you counter Edey, but Edey took him to school. What UConn did so well is they took everybody else out, and that's probably the best way to beat Purdue. The problem is, to take everybody else out, you have to have your guys be better than them, and most people, like Purdue's guards weren't as good as UConn's guards, but a lot of programs can't say that, and that's why it's harder to do than, very few places can do it.
Andrew Gauthier up next. The Zach Edey Whistle Fest is finally over. Now it's time for Coach Izzo to go land that 7-foot double-double machine from Arizona.
First of all, blanking on his name. Here, give me some Hoff real quick.
Steve Kerr.
Damn it.
Luke Walton.
I got it.
Bill
Sorry.
Walton.
No, I knew it was Ballo. I couldn't remember the first name.
Richard Jefferson.
No, it's
Mike Bibby?
no. It's Omar Ballo. Anyway, Michigan State faced him this year. Good player. Free throw shooting's an issue for him. But obviously a 7-footer who's seasoned
with that.
10 rebound in the game guy. Right. There are guys out there if they choose to go that route, and if they don't, again,
if he can't shoot free throws, forget it, Graham. I mean, yeah, we'll work on that, right?
Well, end the game, that's an issue. That can be a real issue. So, I mean, you'd rather have a guy like if you're in. You don't just go grab anything in the portal.
Yeah,
like
you do.
You get one big guy if you're going to go do that. So if you can find a big guy that you think fits what you do and can hit free throws, that's the better play.
Travis Maynard next. Having a serviceable big man is important, but last night's game was more proof a sizable wing like Castle is MSU's biggest need. Even when you have an elite big, the Natty runs through elite guards. Edey scored 37 on Klingon. It was UConn's perimeter that made the difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to have a certain level of big, obviously, and we've seen that in national title. Like guards get you to the Sweet 16, guards win you national titles, but once you get past the Sweet 16, often you're going to face, even if you're a high seed, like the level of big man that you're going to see, you have to have somebody who's capable. But there's no doubt that Michigan State's, I think, greatest need right now is like a 6'7" wing who's comfortable with the ball in their hand, good defender.
Can shoot free throws.
Ideally, could also shoot threes, but you don't need that as much as you need somebody who can get to the rack,
Because Garrick Norman's going to take all the threes, so you don't really need to shoot them.
Well, no, but if you're looking at a lineup with Jaden Akins and Xavier Booker, you've got two shooters at your 2 and 4 spot, so you can afford a 3 that is more defensive minded, I would say.
JD next, bragging about being the last Big Ten team to win a basketball title almost a quarter century ago is pathetic. It's a meaningless stat that in a few years will be completely irrelevant anyway when we have 2 super conferences. F the conference. It's been 24 years since you won a title. UConn has won 5 titles in that span. You don't get a free pass just because the other teams in your conference are underachieving choke artists. Time to get number 2, Tom. Playtime is over.
Well, it's not just the other teams in the conference. The whole country is underachieving if UConn's won 5. Everybody. I mean, everybody.
Don't coach my team.
I mean, fucking Bill Self, get it together, man. I mean, you're just not winning enough at Kansas, North Carolina, Duke. None of these places anymore are doing enough if UConn is winning the way they are. All of those coaches ought to be on the hot seat. I know what you're saying, and I know I'm just being a little bit of an ass here. Because UConn has what will be really interesting is like now you have a Champions Classic that has Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, Michigan State. And the best program in the country is UConn, and they're not a part of it. And that's sort of interesting. Can you have a Champions Classic that doesn't have UConn and call it the Champions Classic or the Tournament of Champions,
they
whatever
call
Izzo
it
calls
the
it?
UConn Classic. What are you talking about? How would you leave UConn out of anything?
Because they're not in it. Every year it's Michigan State, Kansas,
They should be.
Duke, and Kentucky. And right now, UConn, I don't think you can have a Champions Classic without UConn.
Professor next. ESPN should be embarrassed by the amount of homers it allows on the air. Sounds gambling related. The UConn alumni covering the women's game and taking every possible swipe at Caitlin Clark is a symptom of the network's failures. And 50MG's bake take, Matt Shepard was not that bad. Team stung, not his fault.
Did we tell you about Pure Options and their Detroit Tigers deal here? If they score 7 or more runs, which may happen by August, you get a free ProGrow 8th with a purchase of $40 or more the next day using the promo code TIGERS. Now, you can also, though, anytime go in there and $50 or more purchase, let them know Couch and the Rube sent you. And you don't need to wait for the Tigers to score 7 or more runs and get a free 8th of ProGrow along with all the other trimmings and fixings and whatever else you want to buy there at Pure Options. And, again, locations throughout the state. Go to pureoptions.com, Mid-Michigan, West Michigan, East Michigan, Mount Pleasant, you name it.
Matt Shepard he's not bad.
He wasn't a fit.
But if you watch Benetti, like in his first game at home, I mean, he's already he's just more personable, and he likes to have fun with like the walk-up musical. Mention that Shep is just too cookie-cutter, old-school X's and O's play-by-play. He doesn't suck as a human being. I think that he's a great play-by-play guy, but he's just not a baseball guy.
It didn't work.
No.
And you're right.
And he made $2 million.
It did not help that people associate him with like the worst years of the Tigers either. So
Yeah.
You're 100%.
He was not
help.
that bad.
He
But
made,
it's just
I think
like
he made $500K, but yeah.
Yeah, per year.
Yeah, right.
For 5 years.
Yeah, no, he did well. The UConn alumni thing, it was getting tired, and I'm glad Don Staley spoke up a little bit. And the level of, I get that, like, when Caitlin Clark gets into the WNBA, she's going to face stiffer competition. We all know that. Like, you don't need to say reality's coming. Like, all right, like the jealousy stuff is a little bit much. But here's the good thing. Like, you'd only get taken seriously as a sport when there's a little bit of controversy, when there's a little bit of angst, when people get critiqued. When, in men's basketball, UConn wins a national championship, and every program's catching strays. Like, why aren't you better than that? And in women's basketball, it should be the same deal. Like, sports shouldn't get taken. You can't take a sport seriously if it's like, whoopee, TV rating. Like, that can't be just the storyline. Like, it can't be everything's hunky-dory. We love it. We love it. We love it. No, you have to start the criticism, the losses, the frustration is what makes it a serious sport. It's like I say this with MSU hockey. It wasn't until people started reading stories about their losses or getting frustrated with something, that's when it becomes serious again. And like, what? Sorry, what you're going to say?
No, I was just saying, I don't know why you can't look at UConn and go, why can't my team be like a UConn? Because we haven't won a national championship since 2000. I don't see why that's such a crazy thing or annoying.
It's not.
You want a winner. That must be nice to feel that way.
Correct.
A lot.
But there aren't 2 or 3 UConns out there. There's one.
Sure.
Right. So every program. But you could say the same thing about in women's basketball. If you put in the resources, why can't you be this or this program? And I think those. The standards and those questions should be asked a lot of places.
David Jackson next. Purdue guards pulled a gag on the big one when you needed them most last night. Fletcher Lawyer made A.J. Hogarth's last game look like a masterpiece. Every possession, the way Purdue's guards would tiptoe around screens, let UConn guards waltz uncontested into the lane. WTF was that defense? And a bake take. David gets baked? That'd be great. It would be fucking sweet if Tom Izzo could realize that a 7'1" dude with some bulk and decent mobility is all he needs. Tom Herzog, with 50 more pounds added to him to this year's MSU team, would have won the Big Ten.
What did stand out to me, how well Michigan State played Purdue this year without having that position as a strength. Now, I will say this. By the time MSU faced Purdue late in the year twice, they were better at the center position because they were getting more out of Kohler. The last game, Sissoko played really well. I'm not saying they were adequate at that position. That position was a big problem all year, but they were a little bit better than they were at certain times. But yeah, there's no doubt. Like, for everything they didn't get out of the point guard position, for all the shooting inconsistency at times, they were not that far away. They were just a miscalculation of the center position. And so the question will be, what's the calculation now?
Richard Kane next. Some recent comments from listeners. I hope MSU misses the tournament. I hate this team, and fuck Tom Izzo. What is wrong with these people? By the way, to the guy that said fuck Tom Izzo, fuck you, shitbird. Whoa. Richard Kane. Bonus. Michael Cooper very likely is the worst selection of any sports Hall of Fame. Whomever makes these decisions has beclowned themselves and irredeemably stained their credibility.
So he made the Basketball Hall of Fame, and people don't know Michael Cooper. He's like the 6th man on the Lakers Showtime era.
We share the same birthday.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
April 15th.
Yeah. So
is that interesting?
That's
not interesting.
No.
I didn't know someone was going to bring up Michael Cooper.
I love it. I love it. What I love about this show is it gives you a place to vent about that. Richard Kane has been sitting there going, what the? Michael Cooper? Hall of Fame? Bullshit.
Just speaking into the ether.
Yeah. And
finally, someone's hearing me.
We are here for you for those takes.
Yep. Alan Perlstein. Very few things in sports compared to good minor league hockey goalie fights.
I'm not going to argue with that.
I don't think that's hot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great. If you first of all,
see one?
Yeah, if you're at a minor league hockey game, number one, you're hoping for fights. Usually, you're there for inexpensive food, good beer, cold beer at least, and
Is that right? Is that your guide to a minor league hockey game?
I used to love going to Wing Stadium. I would go to the roller derby at Wing Stadium.
Oh, yeah, the roller derby. That's fun.
Fun,
the
yeah.
ladies.
And you're more talented than you might realize. Like, I didn't realize just how good most of these women were. And
should have used this as a hot take.
Yeah, I get the chicken fingers and it was great. Get beer.
I remember what you get.
I just love that experience. I used to love going to that is a story not worth telling, but told anyway. Presented
Did you
by
go alone?
No, I would go with friends.
Oh.
Maybe somebody I was dating at the time once in a while. I didn't mean to say that. To fix that in post. Definitely fix that in post. But that is a story not worth telling, but told anyway. Presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company, 402 South Washington Avenue, the presenting sponsor of our bracket challenge for 2024. And congratulations again to our winners who will receive $100 worth of food, up to 6 of their friends at Midtown Brewing Company, back booth if they want it. I'll come say hello, although that would ruin your meal. I can't imagine that. And also other prize packs for first, second, and third place in the Couch in the Rube bracket 2024 NCAA Tournament Bracket Challenge presented by Midtown Brewing Company. It's also, if you're listening today, it's Trivia Tuesday. Good day to get out there, 7 o'clock, put a trivia team together, and test your knowledge at Midtown Brewing Company.
Peasy next. Graham, love ya, but what the fuck are you talking about? The Pistons are closer to a title than half the league. They have one guy who gets significant minutes on a playoff team. Ausar Thompson is intriguing, but has a serious ceiling limit if he can never develop a solid jumper. If you watch this season, you know Ivy and Duran both have serious flaws that need to be ironed out before they can be considered pieces to build around. And with the current regime in place, I have serious doubts that our player development will help them do that. And bonus, Troy Weaver needs to be gone yesterday. He's not that great of a talent evaluator. You or I could have made the Cade Cunningham pick.
He did do a nice work on the getting Ivy and trading to get the Duran pick, and we'll see what Duran becomes. There are some concerns about Duran, no doubt, defensively. There are concerns. I just think they have 3 intriguing pieces in Cunningham that a lot of people would prefer to have. I agree with you on the development, though, and I do not think Monty Williams is the coach next year. I don't know how you can bring him back. I don't care what the money is. I think they find a way to move on from him, and I think you need to get a coach in who can. First of all, you do need to upgrade the roster. You need to bring some veterans around these guys. You need to figure out what you have, and they sort of wasted this year in that sense. I don't think they answered questions as well as they could. They took way too long to put the ball in Ivy's hands, and it's a shame. It really is. And maybe that Weaver should be gone as well. But I think Monty Williams and getting a coaching staff that can develop these guys and is truly invested in them is probably.
Yeah, but if you get rid of Weaver, and then all of a sudden, who's going to want to come in there with the owner in your ear?
Well,
and a coach that has a 10-year contract.
It's not just that. You got to have, like, most GMs screw this up. Like, people would say Stan Van Gundy knows hoops, but he screwed it up. So, like, I don't want anybody coming in wanting their own imprint. I got to do it my way. Like, do not. You don't come in and
heaven forbid bring in a winning.
Well, what I'm saying
mentality.
Don't if you trade Ausar Thompson for crap, I'm gonna be pissed off at you. Like, don't do that. Just because these weren't your guys, you got to adopt them as your guys. So I'm a little nervous about the new GM thing because I just don't trust NBA people. I've just seen some of their first round.
Why would
picks.
You be nervous? Like, what's the worst case scenario? He's worse than Weaver.
Yeah.
No.
A lot of guys are worse than Weaver.
No. Varsity softball dad next. Since it was asked last week, you might be a Walmart Wolverine if you wear a Michigan hat and shirt at the same time, and you're not going to a game. Bonus: if they're unlicensed, you might be a Walmart Wolverine if you belittle another Big Ten school's academics, and the most you completed was a semester and a half at Kellogg Community College. You might be a Walmart Wolverine if you buy a Wolverine hat for $5 at Walmart but can't find Ann Arbor on a map. This is the first definition I ever heard.
That's truly bringing Walmart into it as well. The Walmart. I mean, there are lots of fans who didn't go to schools that they root for, but Michigan is I think it's partly because the fan base is so large. It's a school that has a little bit of a hoity-toity, smug reputation. And so when you bring in people who don't really fit that ideal or that character trait, and yet they then adopt it. It's why the shoe fits for that. I think that's where people come from.
Just because you go to college doesn't make you smart.
No.
Like my cousin, he graduated from MSU. He has to be one of the dumbest people I've met.
What's his name?
Nick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Nick.
I've told him that. I was like, dude, you're the dumbest, smartest person I've ever seen. Like, you can just remember shit.
What did he tell you when you said that to him?
I don't know, probably told me to fuck off.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything else?
No, sorry.
All right. Matt C. UConn exposed Purdue's guards for the trash they are. Looks a lot different when they just can't stand there and hit threes.
I don't think Purdue's guards are trash. I think UConn's guards are better. And UConn's guards did fine winning the Big Ten tournament. No, they didn't win the Big Ten tournament. But getting them to the final game, I mean, yeah, they're a pretty good backcourt. It's just they're just not as good as UConn's.
Kevin from Rochester Hills. The Tigers will finish below 500. Bonus. Batia faked his shoulder injury and will not make the cut at the Masters. And Bake Take, Izzo will be Kentucky's next coach.
That is baked. Tigers below 500 would be disappointing, but I mean, the over-under I have is 79.5, and I have them over, and that would still be under 500 if they beat that. So it's not like expectations before the year were. But what I want for the Tigers is it's not so much about the 500 number. It's about being in contention in September. Like, I want them to be within
scoring runs.
Yeah, and right. And also, I'm okay with what's happening now if they fix it in season. So, for example, if you thought the lineup was going to be okay, you thought you put together a lineup that was going to be solid, and you give it a month, and your pitching staff's pretty good, and you're a couple games below 500, but you're just not scoring enough runs to keep that pace up, and you go make a move, I'm good with that. That's fine. That's just evaluating a team on the fly, saying this isn't good enough, but don't give up on the season. Because, I mean, it's time to compete, especially in this division. And if you don't have, go get a bat.
By the way, he's talking about the golf with Batia fake. Like, yeah. I don't know why he would fake the shoulder injury. Like, you'd want to get the tournament over with as quickly as possible. He was leading or had a putt to take the lead, I believe. But, yeah, why would you want to sit there and drag that out? It just builds up the momentum. But
so, wait, he was leading and
he had a shoulder. He said he had first of all, the dude weighs like 105 pounds.
Okay.
And then he was claiming he needed his shoulder taped by his coach. These golf guys, they need some things. So, but I don't know why you would what he would gain from waiting that long. But anyway, DMB, couch bailing on the tattoo bed is sad, but failing to dig into the Stallion CMU sideline story is just lazy journalism. I want to speak with your supervisor.
I'll get him on the phone. I appreciate you, DMB.
Phil Friend. Bonus, Trey Townsend is Malik Hall 2.0 and would look good in green and white.
Yeah, he'd be a good player. And he, the real question is, and ultimately in the world of positionless basketball, and you could absolutely play. You should be able to play a lineup that includes Trey Townsend and Xavier Booker without a lot of trouble. And it would, when you talk about small ball success, that could really work. Now, because one of the things you need to make small ball work is you need your five to be able to punish people because they're skilled, right? So one of the things that I think next year could be really interesting is using Booker at the five at times because of how he pulls defenses away. And if he really takes a step, the problems he can cause as a five offensively. And if you then have somebody like a Trey Townsend, I don't know who they're going to wind up getting in that sort of wing four spot. You've got a lineup that could really cause people issues. And small ball is really the wrong word. I mean, because Booker's 6'11" with a 7'4" wingspan. But you know what I'm saying. You're sort of sliding people over.
Aaron Voss next. Women's college volleyball doesn't have inevitable comparisons to a men's game, nor bad foul calls. It also has fewer subjective calls at game's end. Women's volleyball should be promoted at least as much as women's college hoops. And bonus, the women's college basketball championship game is at a better day and time than the men's.
Yeah, the problem is for the men, the bigger deal is Saturday. It's the Final Four, so they want that on a Saturday. They don't want that, so they want the Final Four on Saturday night. That's when all the coaches are there, the parties are there. Like, that's the thing. Saturday is the thing. The Monday, all the coaches have left. A lot of people have already left by the time the championship game happens.
Could you wait a week or no? Like,
no.
Have the national championship just add a different...
You'd lose momentum. Yeah, it feels like it. No, you want it right there. But to your first point, because I've talked about this with volleyball, I do believe volleyball is a tremendous sport, and I wouldn't be stunned This, like, you're seeing it more and more in TV. It does well on TV ratings. It does better than like hockey, college hockey, for example. How
many of those viewers are men in their 40s?
Careful.
Careful about what? They wear short shorts.
Yeah, they wear. No, the column.
Why wouldn't you?
The column they don't want me to write. Shouldn't even say this. The column they don't want me to write at the LSJ. They didn't really want me to write it in Kalamazoo.
Volleyball players should wear pants.
That they don't need to wear those shorts. That to a certain.
Do.
Well, for you they do, but they don't need to. It's ridiculous. And in high school, especially, it probably limits participation because a lot of young women don't want to wear those shorts.
All right, T-Bone's dad. Here's your Tigers. Wow,
what was that? That was
that microphone hated your take.
Yeah, sorry,
hated it. T-Bone's dad. Here's your Tigers bet this year. In every Scooble start, parlay his strikeouts slightly teased down and tease up the run total under to get to even money. Or just take even odds at both parlayed if you're feeling randy for plus money. You're welcome. I have no idea what he said.
Well, basically the idea is Scooball starts, you parlay his strikeouts and the run total under.
If I hand you my phone, can you put the bet in?
Yes, okay. Yes. And then but you can tease it slightly up, and down, so you can get plus money without, I'm not. I think there are interesting ways to go about this season, and the Tigers under though, like the first day all year, I was like, screw it, I'm taking the under, and naturally they scored 11 runs in the game overall yesterday. So I'm going to hold off. I'm going to see where the Tigers go. I just don't know what to do with them right now.
Jimbo Jones, just how many groovy donuts does Graham eat alone and by himself now that he can't take Matt Painter out to dinner to celebrate Zach Edey winning the Natty and ruining the game of basketball forever?
At least 12. Yeah, for sure.
Spartan Frank, thank God the Al-Qaeda parading as Purdue basketball have been vanquished. Edey exposed an above-average big man when playing a guy close to his size.
He had 37 points.
The incessant flopping from their trio of guards. I'm sorry, Graham, but that team was ass. Bake take. Hurley needs to be drug tested going forward.
Nobody needs to be drug tested. This is this is not just the pure options. I mean, what are we drug testing people for anymore? If you want to,
well, it's not weed.
Oh, I see what you're
talking about.
I got you.
Maybe some Adderall or something.
I see what
but
he's
on the court, like talking.
He's a little bit of a nutbag out there. Yeah, he's definitely over the top. He is somebody. I saw a lot of people out there saying like, do we like this guy? Because a lot of people are just sort of learning him. They're like, I don't know if we like this guy. And I think the jury's
he's
still
good
out.
for the game. That stuff's good for the game, though, right?
Yeah, he's a great coach, obviously.
Original Dark Mantonio, the breaking point for college sports fans will be when players regularly transfer from the likes of Indiana basketball to Purdue, or football players going from Florida to Florida State, then to Miami, etc. Killing the rivalry importance will end the love of college sports. I know it will for me. A Cheech and Chong, Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson extra bake take. Michigan basketball will still be in contention for the Big Ten title the last week of the season.
If they remake the roster entirely, we'll see. Dusty May is, I think, a good hire in today's college athletics. If the NIL is there, and that's what I really question with Michigan, I think you can build a roster pretty quickly. I do agree with your first point here, though. There is something to if you get to a point where like Michigan State guys are just randomly transferring to Michigan and Florida to Florida State, and like the idea of some semblance of loyalty and belonging to a school is just completely gone, that would really, I think, devastate the sport.
Couch on fire. Number 1, MSU football wishes A, running game, B, pass defense, and C, competent quarterback play. 2, likely J.J. McCarthy is the Ryan Leaf of this year's draft. And 3, Nelly Korda, finally the superstar she looked like in 2021, defending her gold medal this year too.
Ryan Leaf had a lot of issues going on, so I don't know if beyond. But yeah, I'm curious to see what McCarthy is in a different offense where he's relied upon. I'm not pro McCarthy, anti McCarthy. I think he's an interesting prospect. But
Leaf was a hothead kind of, in his own head kind of guy.
Superb talent, unbelievable talent, right? I mean, just an arrogant prick. And those are like his own words. I mean, he's sort of a reformed guy in that sense, yeah.
All right, Mr. Benjen. Scientifically, naming poop as bowel movement is really dumb. Scientifically, phlegm isn't sinus diarrhea. Belch isn't a belly blast. pee isn't kidney spray, and fart isn't sphincter vibration, and sharts aren't liquefied natural gas.
I'm glad you shared this here instead of on a date, Mr. Benjen, because I'm sure Mrs. Benjen would not, or Jen most likely, would not want to talk about this over dinner.
Okay. Jake Hawkins, number one, could only watch the first half of last night's championship game. Damn the West Coast for the forcing a 9:20 start time. Do they know that 75% of the U.S. population lives east of Texas? And I never thought I'd say this, but I'll miss Jim Nantz calling NCAA basketball.
I like Ian Eagle. He's good.
2, let's all rejoice that we don't have to watch Zach Edey play NCAA basketball anymore, or the referees coddle him with bullshit calls. But since Purdue has another seven-footer coming, I think they build them in a secret lab on campus in West Lafayette, Indiana. And 3, the Tigers home opener was lots of fun. I really like how the city and everyone attending gets festive. Great win too, but 3 losses in a row now and about $60 million less than Major League Baseball average payroll. And owner Chris Illich's name replaced the RIS with EAP.
Cheap Illis.
That gives you cheap.
Yeah. Cheap Illis. Yeah, the start time sucks. I wish they'd started at like 8:30. I understand that's, early on the West Coast, but they're used to that stuff. 8:30 versus 9:20 is a huge difference because you're going to bed at before 11 instead of midnight. And for a lot of people who work in the morning, that's a big difference.
Yeah, but it creeps over the midnight though, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I was home by midnight. Yeah. Last night didn't really go that long, but yeah, the difference between 11 and midnight for a lot of people who have to work in the morning is big. Like you can do, even if you go to bed at 10, you can do the extra hour. It's like, all right, I'll deal with this. But doing 2 for a lot of people, I think is not great.
Upper Deck Jerk Guy to end this thing. I've changed my mind and think Couch should get rid of Jason and bring in a chicken. Yeah, that would be great. Bonus, Alan Haller needs to offer Izzo an emeritus role and bring in Drew Valentine.
That's not how you do it. You'd bring in Drew Valentine to do a coach in waiting thing is what we're talking about. And you'd probably want to see a little more out of Drew Valentine before you did that. But not the worst idea in the long run that I've heard on this podcast from myself and many other people.
Couch and the chick. You guys would talk about women's sports all the time. Volleyball's underrated. I just wish they would wear pants.
It'd be a good podcast.
Jesus.
To look at it. We appreciate all of you producing our podcast for us, whether you're listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube or listening on however you download your podcast. We appreciate Pure Options. Again, remember the Pure Options 420 Lansing Block Party. Sean Kingston, Desmond Jones, DJs, and more. That's 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on April 20th, of course. We appreciate Muskox Quality Flannels. Go to Go Muskox. Use the promo code HOFF for $15 off. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. And gift cards, prize packets coming shortly. We'll be back Thursday. Groovy Donut Twitter questions. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Room.